With that, we say welcome to Hazel Brown in studio here at 107.7.
It's good to be here. I've never been here before, so.
Well, it's great to have you.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the work that you have done, you continue to do. It's an inspiration, I know, to many.
But as I told my mother once, when she asked me why don't I stay home and look after my children, that I do what I have to do because I have the support of a whole lot of women. And I told my mother that evening I was going to Tabakit. I said, I'm going to Tabakit tonight, and if anything happens to me in Tabakit,
yes,
I'll ask them to give me a piece of paper, and I will write on it the names of 3 women who look after my children, and then I would die and go to heaven.
So
to say that I am doing what I have because I know that I have the support of a substantial number of women who I can count on.
Yes.
In the worst situation.
Yes.
That I could find myself in.
Wonderful.
That is, we just finished celebrating International Women's Day, and
Indeed.
for us, we've been doing that in Trinidad for 60 years.
Wow.
I remember Christina Lewis, the woman who had first started celebrating International Women's Day, that this was a day for us to celebrate the ordinary women of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Who do extraordinary things every day. And for me, that is the value of who we are as Trinidadians, that we have some extraordinary women, many of whom we don't even know
yes.
or acknowledge or value what they do. I have just come back from New York from the UN Commission on Status of Women meeting that is held every year.
Right.
And each year I try to carry some other women, especially some young women with me. And this year there were 20 of us that went.
That's a fantastic opportunity for these young women.
And it is an opportunity for them to see what women all over the world are doing, and for them to realize what a great job we're doing here in Trinidad and Tobago compared. The African women come in and they say, tell us how you get all those women in parliament. Tell us how you get a woman as a prime minister. Tell us how you all deal with a lot of issues that you're dealing with in Trinidad and Tobago. Because we want to learn from you. And we learn a lot from them as well. For example, in terms of women saving and economics, we met a fantastic woman at CSW called Chief BC. She was an African chief.
Wow.
And Chief BC started a women's bank.
Okay.
And she told us how we did it to get women to save small amounts of money and create from our small amounts of money pools. And we tried this out in the Arima market.
And how did that work?
A woman who would be wanting to save $20 every day out of whatever thing is not going to go in a bank and put it in the bank.
Right.
We had to provide something that she knows about in the form of susu.
Okay.
Where the money could be pooled and she would be able to do what she had to do out of those small pools of money. But we learned that from Nigeria, from Chief BC.
It's awesome, the learning and sharing that took place.
That's right.
Well, I know this is where we are at this point in time, but you know what I'd like to know? How did this passion that you have develop? What inspired you to get into this line of work?
As I have thought about it, I grew up in a household with 2 strong men, and I have to credit men, my father and my grandfather, because my mother was the most conservative woman I ever knew in my life. So she's not causing any trouble anywhere. But my father, who was a printer, worked to produce in those days in the 40s and 50s leaflets and flyers of people who were against the colonial regime.
Right.
And my father's friends and my grandfather's friends would meet in our house, and I as a child would sit and listen to what men were saying about how they wanted to regain and retain their power and control what is happening in the community. They were very powerful people. They are the ones who got the colonials out of here. And who I think inspired me that people could do whatever they wanted as long as they work together. That's what I learned as a child in my house.
So that line you said there is so powerful. People could achieve so much when they work together.
Right. First of all, to recognize, what the problem is.
Yes.
And who are the problem people, because we had problem people in our communities. We had to figure out what we were going to do about them.
Of course.
And we still have them. The problem for me, and this is my very political statement, is that there came a time and I'm going to name the date in 1956, and we're going to get some calls about that.
Oh boy.
When people were told you didn't have to do anything to make the decision in your community because it was going to be made for you. Some man was going to arrive here and do it all for us, and we could just sit back and enjoy it. Well, that didn't happen. It won't happen. And we, people in communities, have now, I suppose, begun to realize we have to reclaim our power as people in our communities. That's what we did in Diamond Vale.
Yes.
And that is a community of which I'm very proud. I went in there in 1964.
Wonderful.
And we got together and determined what we were going to do about lights that we didn't have, water that we didn't have, postal service that we didn't have, schools that we didn't have, church that we didn't. All of it we did ourselves. So that when somebody comes in to decide what to name the road, we've been here doing this all this time. What? Where you come from?
You own the community
we
you
own
live
that
in.
place. That's right.
Yes.
I heard there was a story last night about some young people in Malik who said, we own that community. That is the only thing that will change Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
When people determine that they have power, that they will use, and they will not surrender their power to politicians who they vote for once every 5 years, because that's the next time they will see them is the next 5 years.
Yes. With the work that you do, you know, I know there are various challenges that you have observed when it comes to women in particular. You know, for you, what is one of those issues or one of those things that you hold close to your heart that you want to work on?
One of the challenges that I have, and that is the lack of commitment of professional people in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
They are the ones with the potential for change in Trinidad and Tobago. And they sit and make money and do nothing. I'll give you an example. And this matter is going to come up again, the business about telephone rates and water rates.
Right.
A couple decades ago, there was an opportunity for us to participate in determining what the rates of electricity should be. And I went there with a small group of people. We formed something we call Telephone Users Group, and went to the PUC to make the case for consumers for a proper and fair rate for telephones.
Okay.
And what we needed to do was to find some professional accountants and lawyers who could help us to present the case.
Right.
I have to say, Ramesh Lawrence Marat came to our help. Carl Hudson Phillips came to our help.
Thankfully so.
Some of the others I didn't remember. But one particular case, we had to present our answer to the telephone company's accounts. And I found this accountant who said he would help us to present it.
Right.
The day the accountant was supposed to appear before the commission, he didn't show up. He said he didn't come because he was afraid to appear with that powerful lawyer that the telephone company had there. I went into Selwyn. Selwyn Ryan was the chairman of the commission. I went into Selwyn's office and I cried.
Yes.
Because here was somebody who had the training and the competence to present the case, who was not going to come and do it. And there are many, and I could tell you dozens of cases where what you needed was the work, the effort and the input of a professional person in Trinidad and Tobago who doesn't show up.
Wow.
So for me, and I keep going after them, because the business about, and this is my appeal now, the business of the telephone rates and the water rates are coming up again at the RIC. Are we going to have to go there? And for me, I don't know who I expect to be there with me. I know I will be there.
Yes.
And whoever else in there is interested in representing and making the case for consumers in respect of electricity and water rates, better come and join us down by the RIC so that we will get fair rates. The problem about is not that the water rates shouldn't go up,
right? But
whatever the rate should be fair and should be what we can afford and equitable for people. So you don't have people who are wasting water, not paying, and those of us who hardly get water having to pay for it.
Got you.
And that is only going to happen if we show up.
Yes. Well, I must say your commitment is admirable, and I hope that others are inspired by it. I know they will be. You know?
Think so?
I think so.
I think more than 3 people will show up.
I think more than the 3 that you said you would write down on the paper for your mom. I think you're going to get more than 3. Yeah. You know, the other thing, I know we were speaking briefly, this is before we went on air, and we were speaking about young girls. Yes. And you spoke to me about your passion behind working with young girls in particular. Yeah. Speak to us some more about that.
They are the future.
Yes.
They are the ones who will turn out how the men and boys turn out. They are the ones who will determine that. And a lot of the work that they will have to do, they will end up doing it on their own without the support of other men, the fathers,
Yes.
who are absent. And now they have a single fathers association. You can imagine that? They are now finding that they have to have a voice.
Yes.
Well, we think that it's very important that girls learn that they have a voice.
Yes.
And that they must use the voice that they have. And of
Definitely.
course they need to learn how to do it. You don't, and if you're not learning it at your house, in your home, then there should be other opportunities for people to learn. And that's some of the work that the network does. In fact, we've just completed a project that we call Becoming a Woman,
Right.
which is for girls between 10 and 25 years old, so that they could experience a new way of seeing themselves and the power that they have.
So, in your words, what does it mean to become a woman?
Yes, and how you do that, the obstacles that you will meet, the challenges that you will meet, but how you can do it by collaborating and cooperating with each other.
Right. So time and time again, you hear of it. There's times when you experience it. It's always wonderful when women can come together. As you mentioned, people in general coming together, there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
But I've heard it time and time again. I'm guilty enough to have thought it at some point in time in which sometimes women can be another woman's own enemy. How could that be? How could we move away from that sort of behavior and support?
The competition is set up.
Yeah.
We are told that we are less, and that feeling of being less and not valuing ourselves does not allow us, to be able to do that kind of cooperation and collaboration. The thing that I have found is that once you discover it, you're okay.
Right.
It is something that you have to learn, and those of us, I have a great admiration these days for these young feminists.
Yes.
Who have grown up in the last 20 or 30 years and who have found their voice.
Wonderful.
Stephanie
Definitely.
Leach and Womantra and those people.
Yes.
Sometimes they're kind of off. Sometimes you have to hold them and pull them back and say, okay, there's a time to speak and there's a time to say nothing.
Yes.
Those kinds of things. But they are out there, and they, like I said, they are learning and gaining their power, and I have great respect for them, and try to support and encourage them as much as I can. And that is what we have to do, to build the sisterhood. I keep telling people, sisterhood is powerful.
Yes.
And when you discover it, you don't let it go.
Right.
Because it allows you to achieve your goals, even to dream. It allows you to dream of things that you didn't think were possible.
So especially as women, we need to support each other more.
That's right,
and
absolutely.
I know one personal challenge that you would have encountered. You are a cancer survivor.
And that story I like to tell because this was 1990. I was bleeding from January until I'm in a meeting in the PAHO office in May. And I turned to my friend Veronica Roach, who's sitting to me, who works in the Cancer Society. Veronica, I'm bleeding since thing. And I was to come to talk to you, but I am too busy doing all kinds of other things to go. Veronica took me from the office to Dr. Narayan Singh's office in her car.
Wow.
To discover this horrible thing was there and needed to be done. Dr. Narayan said to me, of course, we had to surgery on. He says, Hazel, you presented me with a very healthy body. The reason why we were able to have a successful surgery was because your body was not giving up when I was tired.
Wow.
Which says the other story. You need to look after yourself.
Yes.
And you need to keep your body healthy in case something happens. The body will be able to resist what happens. I am here because of Veronica, Dr. Narayan Singh, and my healthy body.
And your healthy body, but also on that healthy body is a healthy mind. What were some of the thoughts that moved you towards conquering?
Talk about cancer, it's all in your head. I believe it's all in your head. It's all in your head.
I think in most situations,
body,
yes.
But it's all in your head.
All in your head. I appreciate that line. It's all in your head. And we have to be careful what we're thinking.
Yeah.
But in closing, what are some words that you'd like to share that would power up these young girls you were just sharing with me? Your passion in terms of becoming a woman.
Sisterhood is powerful.
Sisterhood is powerful.
And violence is learned behavior. Everybody's out there crying and talking about violence. See if you can find out where this violence was learned.
Right.
So that you can stop it at the source. And I'm saying that the greatest source that we have of people learning violence is households and community.
Yes.
So the work that has to be done has to do with households treating and respecting the rights of children. Children have rights and should not be abused.
Yes.
So they can, because when the behavior that the children are exhibiting outside is what they learned at home.
Agreed.
Of course, sometimes when the home doesn't have the resources and the facilities, that is the time that the community should come in. Because again, all of those horrible stories we've been hearing about violence, everybody knew. But nobody knew what to do. So the most important thing that has to happen for violence is that communities have to be empowered to deal with the situation and don't wait for the police or the minister to come.
Right.
Because by the time they come, the matter is fixed and it's done. Empowerment of communities and community and household empathy and support and understanding of the developmental stage of children. Because people talk about children and think about children as if they're adults and they know what they're doing.
Yes.
The reason why they're children and we're responsible for them is because they have to depend on us, because they don't have the experience of what is right and what is wrong. You can't expect a 2-year-old to know you're not supposed to drink something out of a bottle if it's, if it looks nice.
Learn
and
behavior.
They
learn behavior. Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I want people to learn to love each other and care for each other, especially to care for children.
Yes.
And for communities to come together, bring the sisterhood, support the sisters who are out there doing fantastic work.
Yes.
And we will all have a better life here in Trinidad and Tobago.
I want to say thank you so very much for joining us in studio here at 1077. In studio, Hazel Brown. And she is the coordinator of the network of NGOs.
Actually, I've just stepped down as coordinator, so we have a new coordinator for the network, and that's Jackie Burgess. Maybe one time we should invite her to come and talk to you.
That would be a pleasure.
I'm about to retire.
Wow. Well, I salute you and the work that you have done throughout, not just Trinidad and Tobago, not just the Caribbean, but throughout the world. Thank you. We salute you here at 1077, and through you, we celebrate all women, one woman at a time. It's our Woman of the Week, Hazel Brown, who is also a mother of 4, grandmother to 8, and she is a cancer survivor, and she shared with us the pearls of her mind. We say thank you, and we salute you. So with that, we have some chocolates for you, courtesy Cocoa Bell. And also some flowers, courtesy Flowers 137, Tragrett Road.
Right.
Thank you.